You're about to hear a really different and interesting story in multiple parts, but bear with me because you'll find immense meaning behind these words. The year 25 BP. When his mother, father, and brother each took their turns gazing into the eyes of their newborn son and brother, they were all spellbound, captivated, mesmerized, and even shocked by how blue his eyes were. His eyes made that emphatically clear to all who fell under its hypnotic trance. Like all of God's precious and sacred children, there was no doubt in their minds that he had been touched by the hand of God with a sacred mission. He had been baptized with the spiritual element of water. The intensity within his blue eyes were so deep and passionate that it left them pondering the unlimited potential, vibrancy, and range of colors we have been blessed with in the natural creation. His family decided to name him in honor of the deep blue waters, which seemed to be encapsulated within the very vision of his soul. There appeared to be a deep yearning and an innate calling within the blue color of his eyes to return to the ocean from whence he was born, where he could reunite with his spiritual home once again. And so his family moved right onto the shore of the vast Pacific Ocean, where the waves ceaselessly lapped beneath the very foundation of their home. Here, his eyes could match the depth, mirror the wide expanse, and reflect the vibrant colors of blue as he resonated with the emotions of the ever-changing body of water. Like a chameleon shifts the color of its body to shape, morph, and blend into the surrounding environment. And like the squid communicates, pulsates, and illuminates the waters with its neon-colored electric display of emotions. As he adapted to his new home on Earth and reunited with the golden sands along the long stretch of the beach, he began to feel that the ocean truly was his home and a place where he could always find safe refuge, solace, peace, and inspiration. He forged a deep bond and sanctified an unbreakable promise with the ocean, viewing it spiritually as the mother of all mothers and the sacred womb from which he was immaculately conceived. Through the eternal womb of the ocean he was born, and to its womb he shall return. The spirit of the ocean was first, and its spirit shall remain last. Through the eternal dance of its waves emerges the infinite opportunity of rebirth. It was here that the rich primordial bosom of the ocean nurtured and nourished him. Every day and night, without fail, her tender voice sang to him like a divine melody, calling out, beckoning, and echoing from the infinite chambers of time immemorial. Over and over, without rest, her natural rhythms moved and danced through him like a spiritual mantra and a sacred bedtime story, peacefully lulling him to sleep each night as her tender and nurturing fingers gently massaged the sands right beneath the posts and pillars of his bedroom, as if to set him free to sail and glide upon her silky, moonlit skin. Later in life, it was the familiar deep call of the ocean's ancient voice which would beckon and lure him back to her shores whenever he became lost and entangled in the dense forests and fields of life. Throughout his life, he would remain within close proximity to her familiar dance and beckoning call. In those moments of return and remembrance, buried beneath the burdens, fatigue, and haze of the inland world and its exhausting machinations, his mind, heart, and soul were purified and energized by the eternal mother's healing song and soothing balm. It was here, staring out over countless ocean waves, whitecaps, and swells swirling like a brilliant kaleidoscope in all directions, that his creativity, artistry, and philosophy was able to flow unobstructed and expand unimpeded. On this great blue canvas of eternal motion and emotion, his mind was absolutely free to run wild, to dance unhindered over the whitecaps, to skate effortlessly upon her glassy surface, and to fly beyond the edge of the horizon. He would always look back at this time in his life and his spiritual abode on the ocean with immense gratitude and joy as the best time of his life, where he felt true freedom. Throughout his life, when times would become difficult and confusing, and he was in need of guidance, inspiration, and motivation, he would return to the safe shores and embracing arms of his great mother to drink in the vast expanse, clear his mind, and recall his sacred mission vested in his heart and soul by God. The sound of the waves rhythmically breathing, breathlessly breaking, and perpetually washing, purifying, and energizing the incalculable grains of sand upon its shore was an old familiar song to his soul, which harnessed the power to open the gates of his creativity and willpower. The unfathomable volume, depth, and expanse of the ocean's immense body of water filled him with boundless courage, razor-sharp focus, prescient vision, and unlimited potential. He received his inspiration and creativity from his sojourns to the ocean. His eternal quest and meaning in life was forever renewed and reborn in the sacred baptism of the deep blue expanse of water. He was blessed with everything he needed to fulfill his inherent blueprint in life, which had been buried and sealed deep within the innermost vaults of his heart, mind, and soul. He was gifted with abilities to do anything he put his mind to because of the power of his focus, discipline, drive, willpower, passion, and intensity. He was blessed with athleticism to move his body however he needed in life and in sports. He innately knew and loved music, how to sing and write music, as well as how to read and write literature. He loved dancing, hiking, playing sports, playing with his brother and friends, swimming, and most of all, he loved dreaming. He was attuned to his subconscious mind and the spiritual forces surrounding him, as well as the voice of God permeating the natural creation and echoing within the sacred chambers of his heart and soul. To him, the ocean was a divine metaphor and a sacred symbol of the profound beauty, power, and connectivity of the natural creation within our lives. Just as the color of his true blue eyes evoked a startling vision of the beautiful colors the natural creation was truly capable of expressing, even so far as to mirror the rhythmic inhalations of the perpetually moving and emotional ocean, so did he begin to realize his gift and love for all the diverse colors found within the natural creation. He fell in love with the wide range of vibrant colors expressed within the kaleidoscope of blue hues, shifting amidst the ever-changing and unpredictable moods of the ocean, and the rich rainbow of colors found within the flowers, fruits, grasses, the earth, and the animals he explored and discovered. He gravitated towards surrealistic art at a young age, marveling at the symbology of capturing seemingly foreign and heavenly glimpses of colors and imagery rarely expressed in nature. He loved using the mediums of art and writing to tell stories of the unimaginable and the impossible made possible through the splendor, wonder, and magic of the natural creation. At an early age, people began to notice he was slightly different in the way he thought and spoke. Sometimes his mind was somewhere else, as he appeared to be traveling through a different dimension. Though he was always quite magnetic, well-liked, and even popular with both boys and girls, he was occasionally gently teased or mimicked by others for these qualities, simply because he was slightly different. While he could not understand it at the time, and these events cut and wounded him, he would come to learn that these unique qualities were the priceless gifts and the gentle, loving imprints of God's perfect kiss upon his brow. Each and every teasing moment was another blessing in disguise, yet another badge of courage and the elite mark of a warrior, all of which was deeply intended and carefully planned to lead him directly towards the dedicated mission God would one day hand over to this unique and special child. Behind the veil of his magnetic blue eyes, which appeared to mirror the vast expanse of ocean surrounding him, he harbored and harnessed the rare vision and divine ability to see the larger picture, to be able to travel to every side of the painting, picture, and book of the natural creation in front of him, and to weave it into a work of art, which would help society to also begin to see the greater picture, a different perspective, and a new way of life. He was becoming aware of the immense power of the ocean and God he harnessed within, instinctually casting his hypnotic gaze aside for any longer than a second or two whenever he made eye contact with another soul. He was becoming aware that if he unleashed his full intensity and passion on the unsuspecting eyes of those he came in contact with, they would receive a shockwave, like a bolt of lightning, which harnessed the power to evoke massive positive transformation in their lives. If anyone was able to peer long enough into his deep blue eyes, they would become transfixed and mesmerized by the mystery and depth of emotions, which played, danced, and sometimes wildly and passionately stormed within his eyes, like the ever-changing moods of the ocean's massive canvas. Sometimes his eyes played scenes of tranquil and peaceful glassy waters. Other times, his eyes unleashed the contempt and fury of towering, breaking, and raging tidal waves. His eyes contained that ever-changing range of emotions reflected within the immense body of water. For these reasons, he instinctually learned to slightly avert his glance and spare the hypnotic trance of his eyes from those he did not know well. In the ancient tradition of the Native Americans, he was the rare and unique heyoka. Contrary to the rigid expectations, the crustaceous ruts, and the outdated dogmatic ideas of society, the heyoka always rode his horse into the village seated backwards, boldly painted in black and white stripes, or sometimes large polka dots all over his body, and telling shocking stories of renewal to the villagers. This totally unexpected scene would violate and upend their rigid and narrow thought patterns, opening the people up to the unlimited possibilities and potential in their lives. The sacred mission of the heyoka was to awaken the slumbering villagers and to evoke massive positive transformation in their lives. The heyoka would use drama, comedy, stories, and visuals to expand their minds, to excise their stagnant blocks, and to shed ironic comedy on the stale and rancid excrement and rank smell of the status quo. As a heyoka, he preferred a contrarian perspective, philosophy, and approach to life, always questioning every aspect of life with fresh eyes and renewed vision, always yearning to paint dramatic imagery and tell passionate stories of awakening, and always seeking to uncover and reveal what actually lurks beneath the surface of the dysfunction and disease which our society brushes aside. He was instinctually drawn to ceaselessly explore that which lies hidden behind and below the superficial surface of society's inner machinations and systems, so that he could lay them out entirely naked exposed and vulnerable for all to witness. This was a battle he was prepared to fight to the end, despite the enormous obstacles, the deceitful veils, and the dark, powerful forces he would face in his quest. He was the spiritual shaman of the village, who preferred to distance himself from the herds of mainstream society. He would often be seen far off in the distance, a lone shadow, silently standing on the periphery of the village, where he could gain a greater vantage point and listen intently for the guidance, inspiration, and power of God's voice. With his vision of revival, he would return to the village with divine messages and healing remedies for their systemic ailments, for the decrepit and failing machinations of their bodies, minds, and souls, and for their antiquated and needless sources of suffering. He had a warrior and a rebellious spirit coursing through his ancestral blood, with his lineage tracing directly back to Braveheart in Scotland on his mother's side, and the spiritual leader of the Mayflower on his father's side. He had been perfectly fashioned by the hand of God to explore and discover the weaknesses within society. God would one day lead him on a journey of massive positive transformation in his life, which would finally awaken his true essence, his highest potential, and the ultimate being God always intended for him to become. By undergoing his own painful and grievous trial by water, God would prime and temper him to become the rare, precious, and priceless gem of his inherent birthright. One bright day, God would show him the ever-flowing fountain of youth, the sweet and golden elixir of life, and the sacred pathway to true health, balance, joy, and empowerment for all the children. Every detail of his life, from where he was born, the family he was raised in, his gifts and quirks, his successes and failures, his strengths and weaknesses, and his trials and errors were all carefully, consciously, and intentionally planned to forge him into a magnetic and powerful leader, motivator, educator, and positive role model for millions of his brothers and sisters who were suffering immensely. He was the perfect child, carefully handpicked and groomed by God to fearlessly expose and relentlessly attack the very heart of the ferocious, monstrous, demonic, and poisonous fire-breathing dragon of graphic arousal imagery, which was blinding his people, leading them down the pathway of depravity and dysfunction, and blocking them from realizing their true essence, highest potential, and the ultimate being of their birthright. His mother, who was herself a talented photographer, saw his gift for creativity and sensitivity at an early age. Recognizing that he was truly unique and special, she encouraged him in art, photography, writing, and music. When he received his first instrument, a clarinet, and later a saxophone, he fell in love with the beauty and grace of the golden, shiny saxophone, with the intricate and elegant keys spanning the entire length. It was the most beautiful musical instrument he had ever imagined, and he could not believe he actually owned something so gorgeous in his life. Before playing it, he would look up and down the elegant contours of the saxophone, as you would the long, graceful legs of a beautiful woman. The modern shaman played games with his brother and friends, coming up with ingenious ideas for play, in which bodily movement and real space was the platform. Keep in mind, this was before the internet. For the youth of today, who have been raised entirely on a device which is constricted to the palm of their hand, this environment would have appeared as a desolate and alien landscape, devoid of the familiar electronic devices they have become attached, obsessed, and addicted to. But to the people of those times, which was only 30 years ago, they felt truly free, fully embodied, and absolutely empowered. They were powerful initiators and innovative creators, not the listless, pliable, and receptive consumers of today. The natural creation was their platform for entertainment, and it met all their needs. They forged a deep, profound, and intimate connection with the natural creation, drawing everything they needed from it to realize abundant health, joy, and satisfaction in life. The seasonal rhythms and gentle movements of the natural creation resonated perfectly with the dopamine receptor sites in their sacred neurology. It was a more peaceful, tranquil, creative, and meditative period of our recent history, which the youth of today are desperately seeking and yearning for deep within their heart and soul. But the harder and more frantically the youth of today search for this natural feeling of harmony, resonance, and peace through the incorrect mediums and the hollow virtual platforms of the cybersphere, the farther they are removed and exiled from true satisfaction, joy, and empowerment. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to catch the next video.